Welcome to The Big Picture. My name is Phil Arno, and today we have Mickey Kearns, who is our county clerk in Erie County, to talk about the county's office, the county clerk's office and services, and a lot of things that are pertinent coming up, especially in May. We'll get into this in just a second. But first of all, welcome, Mickey. It's good to have you back, and there are a lot of things going on. First thing I want to ask you about is May 7th, coming up in a couple of short months. You're going to be required to have a REAL ID.
That's right.
Now, this is a federal thing, but it trickles down to New York State, and now the clerk's office and everybody out there listening right now. Explain what REAL ID is.
Sure. As we all know, we were attacked on September 11th. Terrorists boarded airplanes and used them as missiles to take down our democracy. Something that came from that, the Congress stated that we're going to have a federal ID. It's been quite some time, but this year, May 7th of 2025, I believe they are now stating that there will be no delay of a federal ID to fly domestically. We all know what a passport is in order to travel internationally, but in order to fly, we'll use the example from Buffalo to Florida, you would need a REAL ID, be REAL ID compliant. What does that mean? That means having a license, identification that has the proper documentation, either a flag or a star on it, and you would have to come into an audit bureau in person to get a new picture and to provide proper documentation. It is a very important thing, and the documents have to be original documents. So we're trying to get out there because May seems like a far time away, especially in the winter time, but we're going into February, and it's really coming upon us quite quickly.
Now, if you don't get a REAL ID, you're still able to use your driver's license to drive and to vote in most activities.
Sure. This
is a security thing for airlines. What other restrictions if you don't have a REAL ID?
Sure. So you want to, it's called an enhanced driver's license. So you have to be a United States citizen. Some of the documents you would need, and it's really important, and the reason why we're trying to be proactive, and we're going to have seminars for people so they can come in and only to the DMV, only do that transaction. They would need an original birth certificate, not the birth certificate where you got from the hospital, the cute one. As you know, I just had a baby, Violet Malone, beautiful little girl.
And you're still conscious.
And I'm still conscious. I'm awake. We're doing quite well, my wife and I. But an original birth certificate from, if I was born, my daughter was born at Oshai Children's Hospital. To get a copy of her birth certificate, we would go to the City of Buffalo, to the City of Buffalo Clerk's office. You get your original birth certificates and where you were born. You need to prove your identity. So you can utilize a passport, you can utilize a standard driver's license. A standard driver's license is something that you can utilize to obviously drive if you're not going to travel anymore, but you will not be able to cross the border with that into Canada. As you know, we're a border county. In addition to that, you will not be able to fly domestically. So you got to have the proper identification, and we want to get people ready. So once again, it's original birth certificate, original Social Security card. If you have had a name change, if you've been married, a marriage certificate. If you've been divorced, a divorce decree, we can help with that. So it's just really important because you think you have all of these documents ready, and then when the timeline is coming, you don't want to be running around at the last minute. Plus, we're anticipating, and we're doing these extra outreaches to sort of, prepare for the extra people coming in to meet the deadline. So REAL ID is real, and it's important.
Social Security card or birth certificate, does a passport, does that
you can use a passport to fly, or a Nexus card, and that's fine. But one of the things I would say is, if you're watching at home, pull all your important documents out. Review your passport, because people say, well, I'm not going to fly internationally, but you don't know that. And many countries, if there's 6 months left on your passport, you will not be able to fly into that country. You'll be literally detained. We've had a little bit of a lax border here, but you know, in foreign countries, if you don't have proper documentation, I think that's going to change in the United States. And we want people to have Real ID compliant. I always encourage people to become Real ID compliant, because even if you have a valid passport, you don't want to leave your passport for identity theft purposes in your car, in your vehicle. We all know that any identification, you know, especially the criminals are looking anywhere. ID theft, you don't want to make it easy for them. And so Real ID compliant, that's going to be important. May 7th, 2025. Like, you know, we're getting close. We've been talking about it for quite some time. Some people say, well, am I Real ID compliant or not? Once again, the easiest thing to do is to pull out your license and see if there's a flag or a star, or you can go to the website and go to erie.gov/clerk. We have all the documents that are needed to be required if you do not have that, or believe it or not, we have a phone system at 858-8864. You can call someone and we can walk you through, or just walk into our outreach center at our Southgate location, at the Southgate. And we're going to be opening up one here, Phil, so it'll be good. It's positive.
You know, my passport is expired, so I'm going to have to get that renewed. I have a Real ID. And my ID expires in August of this year. Do I have to go through all the identification process again, or does my Real ID just get renewed?
No, you just have to renew your license. You're good on that. You just have to renew that. You won't have to go through that process again. And that's what we say to people is, once you have it, it's important. A lot of people say, well, it's just like having a driver's license. Now, it's not required, as you stated earlier. You could have what's called a standard driver's license. If you're not going to get on a plane, or you do have a valid passport, that's okay too. But we just are encouraging people that if they're going to be traveling domestically, it's a lot easier carrying your license, because people keep it on person, than carrying a passport around.
Also, if you're going into a government building, I'm not sure whether it's just federal government or whether most government buildings,
military bases,
you need to have the Real ID.
You need to have the Real ID to get into a military base. I think it's a very good thing. I think one of the things we're going to be talking about in the near future is documentation, identification, and I think that's a good thing. And you know, the federal government, there's a lot of bad people out there. They want to know who's here, who's not there, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more emphasis on identification. Everybody gets on a plane. You know, nobody wants September 11th. You know, to happen again. Nobody wants that. It was a horrific thing. 9/11 was just so bad, and it just, the loss of life, what people did. And here's what I like about the United States of America. And President Bush said it. He said, we will hunt you down. We will find you. You will not be able to hide. And we will continue to get you. And they got Osama bin Laden. They hunted him down. They killed him. And that's an example of, unfortunately, what we're facing in the world today, some bad actors.
Yeah. Now, for people who are a little bit shy about giving out their information, and you know, the maybe bureaucracy, if you want to call it that, and now having to comply with this quote unquote federal standard for identification, and they have privacy concerns. I mean, it's just like any other license that you have to get, right? I mean, it's
and here's the thing too. Phil, it's important. There's a lot of people that don't have a driver's license, and they may want to be Real ID compliant. You don't have to have a license. You can get a non-driver Real ID card, a license that's a non-driver ID that can help you fly. You know, some of our senior citizens at some point in time, maybe sometimes we see people that maybe have some eye issues. They give up driving, right, but they still want to travel. They still feel good, but they just, you know, in many instances, we're seeing it in New York State. We all know it. Insurance costs are going through the roof. People can't afford to drive. Driving's almost becoming a luxury today. So, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, we are very secure. We work with New York State. All of our computers are New York State computers. The data is secure from our standpoint. But once again, there are some bad actors out there, and I can't give you assurance that anything today, whether it's at the federal, state, or local level, is 100% secure.
Okay, last question on this. Present company reminds me, how do parents get Real ID for minors?
They can come in and they can work with them and they can sign off. Still same documentation. Like I said, you need you know, proof of address, right? You need a Social Security card. My daughter, I'll bring up Violet Malone again. As soon as she was born, she got a Social Security card. That's good. We also want to use that Social Security number to deduct her on our taxes this year, which is going to be important. But Social Security card, and the parents sign off on that. So you can use the parents' identification. Some of the points of ID will be utilized from the parent. So the parent has to come in with the minor. But once again, it's a good question. And also, too, which isn't a bad thing, I did it for my older daughter. When we traveled to Ireland and to Italy, we got her a passport. So we also do passports. We work with the State Department, and we accept the passport application. They process it. We've got a great relationship with them. So I think the big take on this is pull out all your identification, pull out your important documents, and review them to make sure that they're current.
And in terms of parents taking children on trips on the airline, children will be required to have this ID as well?
No, I think it's 16 years old, up to 16 years old, they'll have to have it. So the TSA has been pretty good about that, up to 16 years old.
Okay.
But
well,
it's always good to get identification.
Right.
Passports, I'm telling you right now, you don't think about it, but you know, you and I both had children. They go to high school, they're 14 years old, and all of a sudden they want to, the school's going on a school trip, an international trip, and they want to go. They're learning Spanish, they're learning French. So all of a sudden now you're rushing to get the proper documentation together.
Yep, and you know, things happen you don't expect. This is a matter of being prepared for things that you may not be thinking of right now.
Correct.
So it's good to be prepared. It's good to have that foresight to go out and do what you need to do in order to comply with things that are coming up. And May 7th is not that far away, so it's a good idea.
February is a short month.
Yeah, it's you know, it's coming up before you know it. Anyway, we're out of time for this segment. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to The Big Picture, the fastest 30 minutes on TV. It goes by so quickly. And Mickey Kearns is my guest on this Big Picture, and we're talking about the Erie County Clerk's Office. We've covered Real ID, which is coming up. Their deadline is May 7th. Go out and prepare, get all your documents together, and get your Real ID. Now, the Erie County Clerk's Office, what's new? What have you been doing?
We have a major announcement. We have been approved. When I became Erie County Clerk, one of the things I've been looking at is our computer system. And you think to yourself, well, why is that important? But as we know, we're the business office of Erie County. We work with the legal community. We work with the title companies. We work with law enforcement, as you know, the pistol permit office. And of course, we have the auto bureaus and DBAs. We do a lot with small business. So one of the things we've been looking at, and we were trying to be proactive, but COVID-19 hit, and we know what happened there, is that we have done a review of our system, and we put an RFP out, a request for proposal, and it hasn't been done in nearly 25 years. I commend David Swartz, who was the longtime clerk, who went on to become the New York State head of the New York State DMV. He's a great guy. He was at the Botanical Gardens. And we've done a review, and we've been working with our information system, DISS, from Erie County, and we decided it was time to upgrade our software. What does that mean? It's converting. Imagine all the data that we have, all of the deeds, all of that information that has to be converted from one system to another. And you would say, well, why is that important? Well, the one thing I've noticed is when we're talking about information, and I told you a little bit earlier, you asked me if your information is secure. I believe now when we convert to this new system, our information will be more secured. We're hosting this, Erie County is hosting this on their website. Many people go to the cloud today. That's where we're at. We will be the first department to go to the cloud with our new provider, Tyler Communications. They are globally known. This is an upgrade. This is like going from the minor leagues to the major leagues. And we're going to be able to offer better services, more secure services. The functionality of the office, just think of yourself, how dependent upon you are on a computer or your phone. I mean, these things here right now today, we carry them, they're our computer, right? So it's important, and that's going to be a big project. We're going to be working on that. We've been working on that for nearly a year and a half, but hopefully we'll be able to do more for the public. We'll be able to offer more services. And one of the things I've been advocating for, and we saw it with COVID-19, and we saw it with the legal community, that more people are doing things online. So we accept a lot of our filings now through something called working with the court system in New York State called NICEF. So the attorneys in the old days when I worked at a law firm, you'd have to come in. I'd go on behalf of the attorneys. I'd file something at the clerk's office. Now, just email it over to us, and there's a queue. So we are going to be upgrading all of our computer systems. It's a major endeavor. Matter of fact, we are the pilot project for Erie County. I'm very excited about it, and I think we'll be able to bring efficiencies, and people will be able to do more in the community, and that'll get us out, getting us closer to the people. And you know how much I like that.
Well, the Erie County Clerk's office interacts with the general public more than any other department in Erie County. Far beyond any other department in Erie County. Between real estate and the DMV and legal documents, you basically interact with all kinds of transactions. One question I wanted to ask you, people who have homes in Erie County, we see ads all the time about potential deed theft. Somebody forging your name on a document and then selling your property to somebody else. I don't know whether that's ever happened in Erie County.
It's happened.
And I'm not sure how often these things happen, but you have a system where people can register their names if they're a homeowner, and they get notified if there's any transactions to kind of protect?
Yep, it's something called Property Alert, and we have a new district attorney. Matter of fact, I just came from a meeting with him, and what we're looking to do is, when you see those commercials, I say to many of our senior citizens, if someone calls you or if someone asks you to send them money, it's funny because the information that they get from the clerk's office. And there's a fine line of something being legal and something being ethical and moral. Yes, you can get information from the clerk's office and resell it at a profit. I think that's unethical, but it's legal. we've been working with having conversations with the district attorney's office, and somewhere down the road, we're going to put a plan together. Right now, that'll be the future, hopefully working with them, because if someone's doing something wrong, it has happened in Erie County, falsification of a deed, people trying to steal someone's property. Not often. I've only could think of maybe 2 times in my career at the clerk's office. However, one of the things we've been able to do, and we're going to enhance that with the new software, is don't buy that system because they get their information from us. So if someone's asking you, a purchase of a deed, we can get you that. Just call the office. I always tell people it's better to call and just take a day or two and say, hey, I have to call the county clerk. Right. And we'll work with you. But it's called Property Alert. And we can't stop the theft. But what it does is if there is a document that's filed in the office, we can alert you to it. So we request your email. We're looking to enhance it. And that's one of the things we're doing with our partner, with Tyler. And we're working to strengthen that. That's something that we're looking to roll out probably in a month or two. It's been out sort of in a soft way, in a soft opening, but we're really going to get out into the community centers, sign people up, bring computers out, help our senior citizens make sure that their house is protected. Phil, I just, one of the things I'm very concerned about is that Erie County charges 18% if you're behind on your taxes. And there's going to be a major report. We're working with West New York Law Center. And just think about it. In New York State, the usury law is 16%. Erie County is allowed to charge 18%. A lot of our senior citizens, they're getting dangerously close between taxes, the high taxes, and the high interest rates of losing their home. We're trying to prevent that. So we don't want, not only do we not want theft, we want to keep people in their homes, and that's so important to me. It's why I ran for Erie County Clerk.
Well, we've got about 4 minutes left. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to talk to some of the services that most people out here would not know that the Erie County Clerk provides, because I know you have all kinds of programs and services. You have satellite locations for pistol permits. There's a lot of things that you guys do. What's the most common question or thing that people say, gee, I didn't know you did that?
We work with the sheriff and we work with the licensing officer where we accept the pistol permit application. Once that application is approved, we do a lot of work on behalf of the licensing officers. So we have satellite locations on Wednesday and Friday in Alma, on Monday in Cheektowaga. So if you are a pistol permit holder, we can help you with those services. In addition to that, something that a lot of people don't know is they may be starting a business. We're in right now the time where we talked about technology, people being able to be self-supportive. And if they're starting a business, they don't want to invest a ton of money, but they need a bank account. And they can get what's called a DBA at the county clerk's office, doing business as. They get a name, they're registered with the Secretary of State. That could be done down at 92 Franklin. We have a business office, which is really important. Even just going to our website, we have a help desk. And they can go to erie.gov and we have /help desk. We have a help desk where we answered nearly 60,000 questions last year. We found, we did a review when I became clerk that, it wasn't the employee's fault, but they're on the phone and people want to stay on the phone and talk too long. We get them their answers quickly to the DMV. Obviously, we do all of the real estate. We do a lot of work for New York State. Mortgage tax, we collect mortgage tax. All the roads, transfer tax. When you hear the county executive talk about a lot of the roads, that comes from the county clerk's office. So it's a very important office. All of the court records, all of the filings commence in the clerk's office and actions and proceedings. We do handle criminal records on behalf of the courts. We have a lot of duties and a lot of responsibilities.
The passport thing, you guys, if somebody has a passport and needs it to be renewed, does that come to you?
Yes, we could do it on behalf. We're going to be here at the Eastern Hills Mall We're going to be opening up an outreach center. But yes, we can accept the passport on a renewal. We can oversee your documentations. Just review them. Get a second set of eyes on there. But yes, we can help you with that. You would mail it on a renewal, but we can help you and review it because you don't want to make a mistake, especially if you have a time crunch.
Okay. Well, that's it for this big picture. I strongly recommend that if you're interested in any of the things that we talked about today, especially the REAL ID, you visit the Erie County Clerk's website, and there's a whole wealth of information, and there's a contact number so that, as Mickey says, you can call and ask questions. It'll avoid problems at the last minute. Be prepared. Do your homework, and their website, it will help you along. So I strongly recommend, whether you're going to the DMV or for pistol permit or for REAL ID, all the services that the Erie County Clerk's Office gives, visit their website and prepare. Anyway, thank you for watching The Big Picture. That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching WBBZ-TV. We're your local station, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time on The Big Picture.